Eric Benjamin, my brother. First of all, happy birthday.
No, thank you.
Yeah, how is 60 going to feel?
I don't feel 60.
Yeah.
You don't feel like you're anywhere near that. Of course, you're not. You're much younger than I am. So, no, I'm no specialist on aging because I still feel like I'm about 16.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would like your audience to know just how much I've learned from you about classical music. Everything I know about classical music, I learned from you when we were kids and in high school. Well, let me just go through a list.
Okay.
All right? Heinrich Schütz.
Heinrich Schütz.
Yeah, remember that?
You remember Heine Schütz?
Yeah, I do. I do. Medieval kind of.
Well, no, Renaissance, early
Okay.
Baroque.
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
You introduced me to Fantasia on the Theme by Thomas Tallis by Ray Vaughan Williams.
Right.
And I've seen you conduct that.
Oh, you
It
did?
was thrilling.
That's right. You were there for that.
I did.
Sure. Yeah.
You introduced me to the planets.
We went on a grand tour, didn't we?
Uh-huh.
That's right.
Here's one.
Uh-huh.
Oldie but a goodie. Rousseau's 3 pieces for blues band and orchestra. You taught me that.
Which I've done that now with. I've conducted it with 3 or 4 groups and different blues bands that I've worked with.
Really?
And it's really fun. Yeah, yeah. It's an amazing piece and not terribly well known. But yeah, we bought that. I bought that recording. It was Seiji Ozawa and the San Francisco Symphony and West Side Story Dances on one side and 3 pieces for blues band and orchestra on the other. And yes, it was fun to hear an orchestra be able to boogie.
Yes, it was. Dun, 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 dun,
Right.
It was great.
And
Okay, go ahead.
It was 1968 when that. So we were into rock music, but to have an orchestra that could also.
That's
rock.
right. That's right. Yeah. Anything by Aaron Copland.
Right. But especially Appalachian Spring was my big favorite back then.
And Gabrielli, Antiphonal Brass.
That wonderful recording by the Philadelphia, Chicago, and Cleveland brass sections of those orchestras joining together to make, I think, one of the first real commercial recordings of the brass arrangements of that music by Giovanni Gabrielli. Yeah, we all became big fans.
Yes, we did.
Right.
And I just want everyone to know that everything I learned about classical music, I learned from you. And there's probably a longer list than this, but this was the list that I could think of.
Well, let me see. I'm remembering. We used to have, we grew up in a house where there wasn't a lot of classical music. There was the Reader's Digest collection of great music.
Yes.
And it had one late classical record on it, along with other stuff that Mom and Dad liked to listen to, maybe. But we didn't. But the classical record we listened to, remember the Freischütz? And, Fledermaus, Die Fledermaus, Overture, and things like that. We used to listen to those things, too. Yes. I remember, So.
Okay, all right. You have chosen for your program, for your birthday program, Brahms, Symphony No. 4, Barber's Knoxville, Summer of 1915, and Shostakovich's Festive Overture. Let's take these one at a time. Why did you decide to do these pieces?
Okay. Well, let's start with the concert opens with the Shostakovich piece. Shostakovich wrote the Festive Overture in about a week. A conductor called him up and contacted him in 1954 and said, "I'm conducting a concert. None of the overtures that I've got work for me with this concert. Would you write something for us?" And so Shostakovich was very good at speed writing, and so he wrote this piece in a few days and orchestrated it. And then they just had copyists create the parts, and the orchestra rehearsed it, and it goes like wildfire. Of course, it's quite a fast piece. I first played it in a band arrangement when I went to a music summer school at the University of Vermont. We played it there. And I later learned that it was first performed on November 9th, 1954.
Oh, no.
It and I made our debuts at the same time.
How about that? That's awesome.
So yes, that's a birthday piece.
Okay, all right. And Barber's Knoxville, Summer of 1915. You've spoken about this piece of music many times.
Well, remember, the only classical music we could find, this was before there was any such thing as Vermont Public Radio, for instance, that brought classical music programming. There was Canadian radio, but we really didn't listen much to that. So the only place you could go for to access classical music was the town library, which had about 7 recordings of classical music. You remember that beautiful little library, and there was a recording of Eleanor Staber, I think, or anyway, there was a recording of Barber's Knoxville, Summer of 1915, and I really was enchanted with the piece, taken in by it. For one thing, an American composer setting a text by James Agee, an American author, and talking about really living in it's really his experience, Agee's experience, being out at night with his family. On blankets on a summer night, and he's talking about the relationships that he's having there, and it's very sort of small town, family oriented, something imagery that you and I could relate to, growing up in a small town in Vermont. And Barber's music is just hauntingly beautiful. So I wanted to do I wanted to include on this program some young artist that I've had experience with. And Laura Schubach is a wonderful soprano. I knew that this is in her repertoire. She comes from New Philadelphia. She's a celebrity in her own right. She's off teaching up in the Cleveland suburbs now. Marvelous performer. And I thought, and she and I and the Philharmonic have had this nice, really long relationship for somebody so young. So I thought, let's include Laura. Brahms' Fourth Symphony, Donna Costas, our music teacher, our revered, esteemed
From
music teacher.
first grade up to high school, she was my music teacher in St. Albans, Vermont.
And mine as well, that's right. And we couldn't have gotten a better one. A woman who cared passionately about music and was also a very good technician. And she had a big, there was another place I discovered that where I could get classical music recordings. And she let me just rifle through her files, and I pulled out, okay, I got to hear some Brahms. The only Brahms I knew was the famous Lullaby. So I thought this guy was good at putting people to sleep. And I congratulate myself a little bit. Festive Overture is easy to like, for a brass player especially. Lots of brass fanfares, and it's fast and dramatic. Barber Knoxville is a much more subtle piece, and I congratulated myself that I could like something that was that intricate and that intimate, I guess to use that word. Brahms is heavy going, is heavy lifting, and but the Fourth Symphony captured me right from the very beginning. And again, it's a piece that's really quite subtle. It doesn't do like Mahler kind of big things, at least not very much. And I was impressed with myself, Beth, that I could find classical music that was that subtle that I could respond to. So, and I call it my Moby Dick piece. I went from one conducting school, from one Tanglewood, studying. I conducted part of this for Leonard Bernstein, and with Gunther Schuller, I studied it at the festival at Sandpoint. I studied it and then I had it as a mini score. I used to take it with me on the chairlifts when I went skiing. And I'd riding the chairlifts, I'd read Brahms' Fourth, right? And so this piece is near and dear to my heart. And even though it ends on an E minor chord, it's one symphony that ends on a minor mode. It's kind of a funny way to celebrate a birthday.
Speaking of Tanglewood, do you remember when we took a group of our friends to Tanglewood? I still have a button that I bought there. Brahms, not Bombs. Oh, yeah. Because it was the 60s,
it was
early
the 60s.
70s.
Yeah, we were trying to make Brahms relevant.
I still have that.
That trip, sure. I certainly remember that. Yeah. Listening, we sat under the stars and we on the lawn, and I know we listened to Beethoven 7, and I'm trying to think what else there was. I don't recall. Okay.
Boy, I sure don't know. When did you first show an interest in being a conductor?
I don't know. Do you remember?
No, I don't.
Yes, I do remember.
Okay, good.
What we used to watch devotedly every Sunday night, Walt Disney, right?
Yes.
Right? And
yes.
And they did a biography, kind of a biography of Johann Strauss Jr. And in that, and now we might have been 6, 7 years old. Yeah. When and I saw this biography of Johann Strauss Jr. and I recall him the character conducting on that, and I thought that looked like fun. And I must have seen Leonard Bernstein on television.
Those young people's concerts.
Overture, yeah, right. But you know, there was no orchestra. There were town bands. There was the town band, but I don't think I'd recall going to see it or anything like that when we were kids. So it was just television, and it was this. I remember this Johann Strauss Jr. thing, and it made me think, gee, that might be kind of fun to do. And I remember we used to go into the front room, the living room, where there was a console stereo record player. And you and I would occasionally get in fights over who was going to have that turf, because you had your fantasies of singing, being Barbra Streisand.
Yes.
And I like to do lots of things. I was either a rock musician or something like that, and I'd play a recording and conduct to it. And I have a specific memory, Beth, of living a fantasy as a conductor, of wanting to do something. Everybody else was in the television room watching television, and I was in the front room conducting, avoiding what they were watching because it was the Kennedy funeral.
Oh, wow.
So I was in the 4th grade.
What were you conducting, do you remember?
Die Fledermaus Overture. Yeah, right. It was something quite different from anything funereal, and the very sad experience we were all having. But I vividly remember that experience of avoiding the Kennedy funeral and being in there. And now it's like I can pin a date on it. I was in the 4th grade when John Kennedy was killed, and so it was from the 4th grade. It didn't really begin classical music, though I sort of forgot about it until I was sitting in Mrs. Chandler's, Betsy Chandler, another music teacher we had, and Fairfield Street School. I was in the 6th grade, and she played In the Hall of the Mountain King for us, and that made an impression. In fact, so much so that I went down to Woolworth's when I was a rock musician, and I'd go down to Woolworth's. And do you remember Woolworths?
Oh, I do remember Woolworths. 5 and Dimes.
Right. And go through their record collection looking for the new Beatles or the new Blood, Sweat and Tears or the new Byrds or something like that. And then I happened to look over, and there was Philadelphia Orchestra recording with blazoned across the top of it, In the Hall of the Mountain King. And I bought it. And that was a Damascus Road experience. I kind of gave up buying buying rock records at that point. And after that, clove only unto classical music.
You were composing a piece for the Philharmonic based on Dylan's A Child's Christmas in Wales for orchestra, children's chorus, and narrator. What do you remember about winters and Christmases in Vermont?
Well, the poem is by Dylan Thomas, of course, and it's his very funny and whimsical, and then in the end just lyrical, always lyrical recollections of boyhood in Wales and the particular traditions and things that happened in the family circumstances, celebrations of Christmas. I remember a couple of really snowy Christmas Eves, which are always incredibly romantic. It's to have that much snow falling on Christmas Eve is really great.
Yeah, or Christmas morning. Sometimes somebody shook up the snow globe and it was snowing beautifully on Christmas morning.
Yeah, just classic. And the only thing that reminds me of Dylan Thomas's experience, he talks about a house full of uncles and aunts and food and people falling asleep in chairs. And of course, wasn't that Aunt Ruth's up in Franklin, Vermont, folks?
That's right. At the old homestead.
That's right.
At Elsie's, Grandma B's old homestead is where we spent many a Thanksgiving and many a Christmas, and that house still stands.
That's right.
It's still there.
That's right. And we were surrounded by big people who fell asleep after dinner.
How did growing up in a small town help you as a music director for a Philharmonic in a county with just over 80,000 people? What similarities do you recognize between the two areas?
The two towns, the towns are very similar. The big town centers in Tuscarawas County are New Philadelphia and Dover, and there are buildings and this general layout that would reminds me very much of St. Albans. The people are very similar, and playing in town bands in St. Albans taught me about town musicians, people who have day jobs, who do lots of things and have lots of things, and music is not as central to them as it is to me, but I can still, they could enjoy it, and they kind of like actually seeing somebody who is really passionate about it.
One last memory I'm going to share with you.
Okay.
Very early memory. You talked about that front room in the house where the stereo was.
Right.
And it had a carpet that was very slick. It was a woolen carpet, and it was very well worn, so it was slick. And you know where I'm going with this?
No.
You taught me, we were listening to da 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 da.
Oh yeah, that's Fledermaus Overture.
That is the Fledermaus Overture.
Right.
All right. You taught me in my little hands. We tore up little pieces of white paper, and you taught me to slide like I was skating to the music, and just at the right time, dun, 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 we threw up the paper and it was snowing on us.
I have no recollection of this
Yes,
at all.
you taught me that just at the right time. Now wait, Beth, wait, and then just at the right time. And it snowed on us. Eric Benjamin, congratulations again. It's
Yeah.
wonderful talking with you.
It's a lifelong dream, Beth, to be interviewed by you, and the Philharmonic and I. It has been love since first downbeat, and I'm delighted that if I've got to turn 60, that I can turn 60 in such good company.